Listen to the vibes.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Vibes. I'd like to welcome here Mary Beth Schrudder, who is a life coach, a spiritual life coach. And we're going to get to know her. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about dating. So, Mary Beth, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, hi there, and thank you for having me on the show. I'm excited to be here. Regarding dating, so a lot of the stuff that I do, I'm a spiritual life coach, like you said, and I focus a lot on addiction recovery. And one of those addictions happens to be to toxic relationships. And I don't teach anything that I have not been involved in myself. I have the education and the certifications and all that, but what I really learned the most from is life experience. So I was, had the alcohol addiction, food addiction, and then relationship addiction. Because I think usually if you've got those tendencies, it kind of spills over into all areas of your life, right?
Yes.
So, just for people listening, the root cause usually especially with dating, starts in childhood, like usually some sort of childhood trauma. It could be an abandonment wound. That was what happened with me. My parents were divorced at 5. And then I remember my dad leaving. And then I thought, oh my gosh, if my dad can leave, then my mom can leave too. And I just remember having all this anxiety, and that never went away. And I mean, it did now, but after I did the work. Right. And the truth is I really got this clingy, anxious attachment style, which we've all probably heard about attachment styles. You can either be, anxious or secure or avoidant. And secure is the way we want to be. We want to be healthy. And before I get into the details of how toxic relationships are, I went from anxious to avoidant to secure. So just to give everybody hope before I get started, we're not stuck in a certain attachment style, and then you could even be secure. Like I'm very different in relationships now. I have healthy communication, healthy attachment style, but you can sometimes slip a little bit, like something can freak you out or make you jealous or get triggered. And that's okay. The difference is once you've done the work on yourself, you've brought all those subconscious triggers, all those things that used to trigger you because you didn't do the work, you catch yourself. That's the difference. You start to catch yourself and you're more mindful and you're like, wait a minute, why is this disturbing me? And, remember, we aren't our thoughts. We aren't our emotions. We're the observer. We're the witness of our emotions. So you just like, well, isn't that interesting? Like why did I just freak out? Like sometimes you're in a relationship, you might freak out on somebody and it's because you're triggered by something that happened in your past, right? Mm-hmm. So in my coaching practice, I get a lot of people who are stuck in these trauma bonds and codependent relationships, right? And a trauma bond is kind of like your bite matches my wound situation. Like, so you attract these types. It's subconscious, it's energetic. I also teach law of attraction, which is my favorite thing to teach, by the way. I'm very passionate about that. And we attract people energetically for sure, by our thoughts, by our feelings. The universe is actually more feeling than it is, anything else. So that's why we got to have that mind-heart coherence. When we're not attracting the way we want to attract, it's usually for a subconscious reason or an energetic reason. There's some reason why we're attracting this. It's usually because we're attracted to things that are familiar. So even if it's not good for us, if it's familiar, like if you have instant chemistry with someone and you have a history of toxic relationships, you might want to run. Like if that instant, I mean, it's true, man. Like that's been true for me. Like if I have some instant, like, chemical haze, I'm in a chemical haze. That's usually not a good indication for me personally, because it's familiar patterns, like I remember this is familiar and I'm going to get it right this time. Right. We get that way. Like this time I'm going to get it right. Mm-hmm. So basically, how do you know if you're in these patterns? What I'm going to say about toxic relationships is they feel very unstable and unpredictable. And they start out usually pretty strong and passionate. And at first you feel like, a lot of times we're love bombed. That's what happened to me. Like, you feel like, oh my gosh, this person finally sees me. Someone sees me. And they're over complimenting you probably. They're basically putting you up on this pedestal that, guess what happens when you're put up on a pedestal? What's inevitable is you're going to fall off they're probably going to be the ones to kick you off, because a lot of times if it's someone who's manipulative, they do that intentionally. They do a lot of me too's, and they agree with everything that you say. And that intention is they're going to use that against you later. That's what happened a lot of times in my past. And a lot of my clients also have this familiar pattern. So there's, and part of it, you got to take responsibility for your part too, right? So I was a people pleaser. I'm no longer a people pleaser, but how does that start? That also starts in childhood usually, because we want people to like us. We want to feel wanted and needed and loved. And Gabor Mate says this beautiful quote that just so life-changing for me. When you're a child and you don't feel wanted, you're going to make sure that you're needed. Okay. So that's that's stirring the pot just to be a people pleaser right there, because you want to make sure that you're needed. So you start to just tell people whatever they want to hear. You want to avoid conflict. You want to make sure that you're not abandoned again, like if you have that abandonment wound. So there's so many reasons for us to get to that point. But that was my pattern. So manipulators can see people pleasers from miles and miles away. And it's like, because, when you're really nice and you're saying yes to everything, that's a weakness in a way, because you're not being your true authentic self. And that's something else. Like when I was a people pleaser, I thought I'm like the nicest person. I just thought I was nice. I didn't realize I was kind of a little bit of a little liar, because I wasn't telling the truth. I wasn't being authentic. I was just telling people whatever they wanted to hear. So I get myself into these patterns, and I usually attracted these toxic, controlling people who wanted to have power over me, those types. And it feels very unpredictable. And you just never feel stable. When you try to have healthy communication, they're going to usually tell you, oh, you're being dramatic or you're being negative. And it's just like something healthy that, any couple would talk about, but the controlling, manipulative type person is going to try to shut you down and make something your fault, or make you sound like, or if like, let's say you intuitively know something shady's going on and you say something, they want to tell you you're crazy, because there's a lot of gaslighting going on. That's very common. Like as soon as you're onto something, no, you're crazy. You're crazy if you think that. Like I could tell you with my exes, every time I was suspicious of something, I was told I was crazy, and it turned out to be 100% true. We got to trust our intuition. And there's also something that I want to talk about with dating in the modern world, because of the way modern dating apps are. People are really into these quick fixes, kind of, it is an addiction. Dating apps can become an addiction. You're swiping, you're getting this dopamine hits, very much like any other reason we get addicted to things, right? And people don't want to stick in things. If something gets a little bit difficult, which all relationships are, they're just going to move on to the next person. This seems to be the trend that's going on. People get ghosted all the time, and it's actually very sad. And there's also a lot of drinking going on. So back to my alcohol addiction, when I have clients who are having these problems, I always ask them, well, are you drinking on the first date? And they're like, well, yeah, like almost everybody does, because why do we drink? It's a social lubricant. Why do we do anything? It's because we want to feel better. We want to numb ourselves. We want to be more comfortable, and the same with food. Food is just, it's comfort, right? And so a lot of people have social anxiety, and dates are stressful. A lot of people get nervous. So most people are going to drink on a date, unless they're like me. I quit drinking alcohol about 5 years ago, a little over 5. And it changed my life 180. So, they're like, yes. Oh, all right. Good job. Congratulations. How long has it been for you?
Oh my gosh.
Long time.
It's been a while. I had a bad alcohol and drug addiction. Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's good. Yeah, because you had self-awareness, and that's like the most spiritual thing in the world to me, like self-awareness. And that's not an easy place to get, because I was mostly in denial. Like I quit it took me a couple years after I realized because I was in denial most of my life. And then like it took me about 2 years. It turned out to be a lot harder than I thought to quit. And that's why I like to help people, because now I've got the spiritual recovery methods figured out that I wish I had just gotten guidance. I became someone like that I needed when I was trying to quit, is what I did with my life. But yeah, with the drinking, you go out on these dates And, you get this in this chemical haze, you're buzzing, and you don't ask the right questions, number one. And because alcohol can make everybody seem more fun. And so it gets really confusing. And most people are drinking these first 3 dates. And then there's kind of like a lot of people are sleeping with their date by the third date. And then they're wondering why things don't work out. Well, you're having sex with a stranger. And I have this acronym for love. When we're on a date, we really need to ask these questions. L is for lifestyle. Ask so many questions. We want to vet who cares if it makes you seem weird? These are things that we want to know. You're also helping them out by not wasting your time or their time. So L is for lifestyle. Ask a lot of questions about their lifestyle. It's not to be like, is it good or bad? It's just, is it a match? Like anytime someone's not a match, that doesn't mean if you're not a match for them, that's okay. Like it doesn't mean you did anything wrong. We're not supposed to be a match for everybody. So don't take it too hard. It's just how it is. And I'm definitely not a match for everybody. And I don't get like butthurt over it or something, because I've got a lot of things going on in my life and the way that I am. I mean, most people aren't going to want to date someone who doesn't drink alcohol. And then I quit drinking coffee, and I'm really spiritual. I've got all these beliefs that, might not be a good match for people who, if they might be religious, things like that. So ask questions about their lifestyle first. And make sure it's a match to yours, whatever that may be. And then the O is for open heart. And so this is where you want to ask questions to make sure that this person's even emotionally available and that they're looking for the same thing you're looking for. Are you looking for something casual? Then, and if that's all they're looking for, cool, that's a match. It doesn't mean they're bad or you're bad because you're looking for something casual. But if you're looking for a long-term relationship and you ask questions, you could tell they're just looking for casual fun. Well, take note of that. They're being honest with you. So ask these questions. V is for values. Probably the most important, because we always think that values, oh, well, I can tolerate that or can tolerate that. You don't want someone you can tolerate. You want someone who's going to fit into your life long term, right? So ask about their values. And then in religion would be something to ask for. Family, things like that. Like, are they someone who wants to have dinner every Sunday with their family, for instance, and you're someone who wants to sit home and watch sports? That's a value that it's a mismatch right there, right? So even little things like that really matter. Also just the lifestyle stuff, something that is like, if you have animals and they hate animals, like think about that. Like that's not someone that's great in the beginning when you're physically attracted and you're like, whoa, I really am into this person. But when it comes to actually combining your life together, that's going to be a problem. So that's why these questions are so important early. And then E is the final letter of the acronym, and that's for expectations. And a lot of those would be expectations for the future, right? Like, where do you see yourself in 10 years and 5 years? Where do you want to retire? Like, if someone is like, they got their mindset on retiring by the beach, and then the other one's like, oh, well, I want to live in the mountains or, the country or something totally opposite. That's like end game. It's over. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so don't even get started with these people when you know it's going to be this huge issue in the future. If it's something that's really important to you, at least if you don't mind compromising on something like that, then of course that's different. And that's something we need to decide for ourselves personally. Like, what can we compromise and what not? What's a deal breaker and what is okay? You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
So that's really important. What else can I say about this? A lot of us we have these competing beliefs when it comes to finding someone. Like for instance, a lot of my clients will be like, I'm really lonely. I want someone I want to mate. But then they also see themselves subconsciously. This is what I find out after talking to them for a while. Subconsciously, the reason why they're not attracting somebody is because they see themselves losing their autonomy. They see themselves like they've kind of gotten attached to their single life in a way. So even though they want someone, they also have this energetic block. Like there's some resistance going on. So they're not attracting the right people in their lives. They're attracting the ones that match more of them being in the single life, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So did you have any questions more about that? Because I could keep rambling, but let's.
Well, one thing that, and this is just a personal observation, is some of these choices that people make, is the core of that also low self-esteem?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Though self-esteem, we really need to love ourselves before we get out there into the dating world, because people can only love us as much as we love ourselves, truthfully. And we train people how to treat us as well. Like back when I was a people pleaser, and like I was being a doormat, right? Like I'm still a nice person. And don't be confused. You could still be a nice person and not be a people pleaser. That just means, you're being authentic. When someone asks you a question about, do you want to do this, and you really don't want to do it, don't lie and say you want to do it just to please them. Say, you know what? I really don't want to, but you go ahead. You could still be nice and not be a people pleaser. But yeah, the low self-esteem thing is for sure. That's definitely something that will block a lot of people. They feel like they're not. Actually, that's the number one limiting belief for everything that I've come across in my practice. I don't feel worthy enough, and that could be for your business. Every subject. Not feeling worthy enough is the biggest block that people have, and that's simply a limiting belief. And that's like the main thing that we need to work on in order to start attracting what we really want. And the truth is ask yourself too, would I date me? Like, and then when you're looking for someone to date, you want to be the person that you want to attract too. Mm-hmm. So like, let's say that you are like there's a lot of guys who they want to date Barbie. Like she's got to look like Barbie and be perfect and all this crap, right? But then they don't look like Ken. They don't look, but then the girl has to look a certain way, right? So let's be realistic and if you do want to date Barbie, do some work on yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of people who they're very judgmental of how someone looks, but they don't ever take a look at themselves and be like, well, wait a minute. Am I going to attract that type of person who works out every day? And I've never worked out a day in my life, right? So you want to kind of become the person that you want to attract, and maybe that's not important to you. Maybe looks aren't anything, but the main thing that people should look for is character.
Yes.
Forget the looks, forget that chemical haze in the beginning, because that's probably going to lead you down. Just really don't drink on the first 3 dates. That's what I ask. Don't drink on those first 3 dates. And then if you want to drink after that, okay. But at least those first 3 dates, spend time building a foundation of friendship, getting to know them, getting to know their character, asking hard questions, having a deep, healthy communication, because people who are not toxic are going to be open to that open, healthy communication style. They're going to be fine answering questions. If they're not, and they think you're weird because you're asking about lifestyle and you're asking about, emotional availability and their values and expectations for the future, if they think that's weird, that's kind of a red flag, because they should want to get to know you too and get to know your character. It should be back and forth conversation. I don't mean to make it sound like you're just like shooting questions at them like they're in an interview. You can make it flow, right?
Right.
We know how to make a conversation flow. We're all adults, right? But yeah, don't sit there and don't have like a list of questions. That would be weird.
Right. We were talking before the show started, and I mentioned that I watched this show called Evil Lives Here. And it's not just women, but most of the women on there, they meet a guy, he seems great, seems flashy, what have you, but they ignore all those red flags. And then later on, they're like, well, finally I realized this was not the right person. Well, you waited until you found out he was a murderer before you decided that it was a bad choice. But people will ignore even their friends and family saying, hey, I'm getting a bad vibe off this person. I know I did. My daughter would say, I don't think that's the right girl for you. And, oh, you're just crazy. And then found out she was absolutely right. When we don't trust our gut either.
Yeah. And that's the power of chemistry, isn't it? Like if you think about the first time we were ever, and I think this happens to most people, we were ever just defiant against anything, was when we first had that first love, that first crush. We were just willing to do whatever, like to keep this and keep that, because that feels magical, right? That limerence feeling. And it's not love. It's more like infatuation. It's limerence. But it feels so strong, and we get that constant dopamine hit. And it is like an addiction. Like they become our fix. We're feeding off of that quite literally. So that's why it's so hard to get out of it is because it is an addiction. And that's why it's funny, because I don't really get as many people who are addicted to alcohol or food addiction as much as I do relationships, because relationships are hard. And I think that we all have that tendency. There's something called the fading effect bias. It's a psychological phenomenon, FAB. So this is when we have the human tendency to just remember the good stuff and forget the bad. And that's with any addiction. Same thing with alcohol. Like you start to think, oh, it's a sunny day. And oh, remember like sitting outside at a Mexican restaurant, having a margarita and chips and dip. You start to think about all the good stuff and you forget the bad. We do the same thing with relationships. We remember like how he used to treat me instead of what's going on right now in this moment, or how she used to treat me. And now she's, taking me for granted and not appreciating me and nagging me, like and that person that you met in the beginning seems no longer exists, but we're still holding on to that ghost of that person who's not even there anymore. It's very interesting. And we do that to ourselves. It's denial. Denial is a strange phenomenon too, but that fading effect bias is really what keeps a lot of people in that. And then also when alcohol is involved, any type of addiction can keep you inside of the bad relationship as well, because they play on each other, right? You're numbing yourself out. So yeah, that stuff is real. And it definitely happens. Like it's easier and easier the more work you do on yourself, and the more you I call it shadow work. A lot of people call it shadow work. I didn't make that up. I didn't coin that term, but yeah, you do the shadow work, because that's when you find out, you bring all that subconscious crap to the surface where you can heal it. And then you stop. That's what I help people do. You stop attracting it, and you become aware of these subconscious patterns, because you cannot change anything until you're aware of it first, right? Like you couldn't quit drinking alcohol until you were aware you were addicted to it, right?
Exactly.
So that's what it is. It's catching ourselves in these patterns. And sometimes in order to get to discernment is wisdom, right? And sometimes it takes being burned a few times. And then that's how we become wise and discerning, is because like it certainly worked for me. Like now I can spot things. I spot red flags. I'm not taking those red flags and wearing them as scarves anymore. I can tell you that. I'm definitely like, oh, no, I know this. And I don't question my intuition anymore. Kind of like you mentioned, I used to kind of play things out, even though my intuition was screaming at me, and it would play out exactly like, but I thought it was going to with it. But so I don't need to do that anymore. I don't question myself. And actually some of us, even I've developed this other type of intuition in my 40s, where if I'm around somebody who is not good for me, I will get physically nauseous these days. Physically, I don't feel good. So like and thank you for that, because that's a beautiful thing right there. Like if someone's not a good energetic match for me, I don't feel good around them. And there's no time to waste, right? We're not wasting anybody's time.
Well, speaking of time, I know we're getting short here, but you work on more than just dating. What all do you do in your spiritual life coaching?
So it's interesting because I say addiction recovery a lot, because every single thing that people come to me for, there's some sort of addiction involved. And sometimes it's like their work, and they can't, either they can't find their passion, or they're not able to advance in their work, or they're like business, things like that. Optimal fitness, right? That's going to be some sort of food addiction usually, or they just have these limiting beliefs, and they feel like, oh, I can't do it. Everybody else can, but me. When it comes to like business stuff, I think that it's just really finding out why why are we not worthy? And we do a lot of overthinking, a lot of negative thinking. And by the way, that's an addiction too. And those things usually are the things that block us from so many things in our life. So I help people go through divorce. I help them in their marriage. I help them in their dating and relationship life, like we mentioned. I do help with addictions to alcohol and things like that, but they've already need to have made that decision that they're done. They have to, because coaching requires 100% commitment. If you're not there, you don't waste your money on any coach, because it starts with you. It starts with that commitment. And same with the food addiction. You have to almost be sick of yourself, right? Sick, you're sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. Then you're going to be open, because here's why I don't want you to hire me if you're not 100% committed, because you have to be motivated. I can't motivate you. And you can't really rely on your own motivation because that comes and goes, like that. It's like it comes and goes, it's up and down. So what you have to rely on instead of motivation with 24/7, because that doesn't happen to anyone. It definitely doesn't happen to me. I don't have 24/7 motivation, but I rely on commitment and discipline. So like I've hit all my goals in the fitness, I'm 50 years old and I feel better than I did in my 30s, so like it's never too late. And there are things that we can turn around, like everything. We could turn everything around. It is never too late to turn your life around. That's like something, because like I said, I didn't even quit drinking until I was 45.
Wow.
And I'm 50. So but that was like something that I didn't even realize I had a problem with. Like I said, I was in denial because society is like, it's so normal. It's so glamorized, like I'm the weirdo now because I don't drink, right? Like before I fit right in with society, which is what made it so hard for me to realize I had an addiction, because everybody else was drinking as much or more than I was. But I can tell you a lot of my problems went away. Like a lot of things, I couldn't sleep at night. And, it turned out to be alcohol messing with my sleep. And I lost weight, and just things like not being able to hit my goals. It was blocking me from a lot of those things. I was already a life coach teaching people how to live their best life. And then once I realized, oh my gosh, I added the addiction recovery niche. And I was like, then I was aware and I had to do something about it, because I did not have inner peace with being a coach and then not living in integrity, not living authentically. Like, how can I be teaching people live their best life unless I'm doing everything I freaking teach? So I knew it had to go, but it was a struggle. It was harder, but I got it all figured out. And that's why I like to teach others.
And what's your website?
Day1lifecoaching.com, DAYONE lifecoaching.com. And I do offer a completely free discovery call. So that would be like a one-on-one Zoom call with me, about 20 minutes long. You would just give me a little bit of information about yourself, and I tell you how I work. We decide together, are we a match? Same as dating. It doesn't mean I'm bad or you're bad if we don't match. It means maybe there's something else that's better for you. And I will always guide you to someone who's maybe a better match, or a program or something that might be better for you if it turns out we're not a good match for each other. So you have nothing to lose. That's a free free Zoom call.
And social media.
So you have my link tree. But I'm on everything. Mary Beth Schrudder, SCHRUDDER, and Day One Life Coaching is probably how you're going to find me on some of those. But I'm on Instagram, TikTok. I've got 2 Facebook pages, or 3 actually. Also LinkedIn. Did I say Instagram? I have a YouTube channel too, Spiritual Transformation podcast with Mary Beth. So that. There's a good interview section there if you're interested in like psychics and spiritual healers and people who are gifted spiritually in that way. I do a lot of interviews with them in the interview section. You might like that.
Well, I will put those links in the description just to make it easier.
Yeah, my link tree has everything. My link tree is one thing, and it'll lead you to every single platform.
Mary Beth, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. I also want to thank all you folks out there. If you are new to the channel, I hope you'll come back. Please hit that subscribe button. For my regulars, you guys are awesome because you make it possible for me to do this. Until the next one, everyone, please take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network,